Okay, good evening. And so today I'm going to be showing another TBC focused video. Namely, I'm going to be doing a features wish list for TBC. So just to start off, just going to tell you that the background image is something I found online. Belongs to Wei. It's from 2005, which is a great artist. I will leave some more info in the description below so that you guys can check out his art. Okay, so let's go straight into it. So to start off, we have our permanent realm. Only one realm. There's no point, in my view, in splitting the population across one realm that is hardcore, another that is not, because the population for TBC, it has always been a niche, even from private servers or even during the past reenactments. There was people that were in TBC, but they wanted to progress to Wrath. There were others that preferred Classic. Blizzard itself did not launch TBC Realm, a permanent one, but nowadays with the Stop Killing Games movement and all of that, they really need to rethink that. They need to give us one permanent realm that stays forever on TBC. Now, of course, players, myself especially, are not really interested in the whole leveling that does not include TBC. That is part that's from Classic. To repeat that, which is most of the time it's lonely, you don't meet people, you are not interested in that part of the game, so maybe just give us some instant 58 realm through maybe just one character at first, maybe some boost, wherever way Blizzard can make it. I would prefer that it would be available for everyone. Also, if you do instant 58, it needs to be protected. So the items that are given, they cannot be overpowered items, first of all. And they cannot have any sell value. It needs to be protected against that for exploits. And also needs to be profession safe, because before you just need a level 55 to get some professions to the max. Now that needs to be, the whole thing needs to be reworked. For my idea, like you start from 70. At 70 you can get max level in professions. At 69 you can get max level -1, which would be like 300 skill, if I recall. At 68 you can get the previous, and so forth, in order to make it so that players actually have to earn and progress into level before they can use the char as a professional. Okay, just keep it safe to avoid exploits and dumping and ruining of the economy and all that nonsense. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, so continue now for the second one. Seasonal achievements that are restarting the progression. So what this is basically is when you start the game, let's say it launches in 2026, you get 1 to 2 years to go through the whole progression. The normal dungeons, heroic dungeons, heroics, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, Sunwell, the whole works. But after, let's say, 2 years, those achievements that you get for completing all those dungeons, they are no longer attainable, and there will be a new achievement for the new season, for 2028, let's say 2 years after. In order to have that, you need to have a character that is created after the starting point, and also make some sort of restriction that maybe you can only group with or talk with or be in a guild with people that are from that. If you have a little toggle or something like you had for hardcore or for social found, you have a toggle that you want a seasonal character. Just like in Diablo 2, you can have a seasonal character or a character that's part of the normal population. Path of Exile has this too. So that's basically it. So that at the end of each season, they become part of the normal population. They can interact, they can trade with all of the normal population, but within a season, they are restricted to being part of that new population, of that new challenge, of that new race to be world first, whatever. For players that really like TBC, this would be optimal because it's a theme park MMO at the end of the day. There's a start point, a midpoint, and an end point. Okay, so third point, integrated solo self-found and hardcore. So they need to be a part of the main realm. They might not be able to trade because they are solo self-found. Hardcore, they need to be a little bit protected against griefing, of course, but make the world feel alive because you want to be able to see that these players are out there. Also, I didn't put it here, but make them feel special. In Diablo 2, whenever you finish the normal difficulty, if you were a normal character, you had your name with a special tag, champion or something, or conqueror. If you were in hardcore, you get a different tag. So let us have like a special tag on the title, like champion, conqueror, whatever, like in Diablo 2. And also let us change the name color to be a red to represent what we are as hardcore. Solo self-found gold, so it's like a reddish gold. If you have both of them, if you are normal, give me green, blue, whatever, so that other players can tell apart which player is part of which. Okay, that's it for number 3. Now on to number 4. We have no flying. This is something that for a long time has caused many discussions, so I'm just going to keep it brief. For me, please, no flying in TBC. Not even the 60% only, oh, keep that one. No. It removes people from the world, from the intersections that occur, from people seeing each other. It's like they skip, they gank in ways that and then immediately escape. It's just bad. Keep the world alive, no flying, and of course put replacements where needed. Where is it needed? To reach the Netherstorm heroics or normals, to reach those parts of Blade's Mountains, to reach the Skyguard part in Terrokar, and so forth. Also the part of Shadowmoon Valley or the part in Nagrand that needed. I think in Zangarmarsh there was no zone. In Hellfire there's a little zone, but in Zangarmarsh I'm thinking it's okay the way it is at the moment. That's it. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to number 5. World Boss Summonable. Rare drops plus raid ID. What's this? The general idea is that currently the World Boss, the way it works is that people that wake up at the restart time of the server, they go there, they get it. And people that are no-lifers, sorry, there's no other way to say it, unemployed, part of that big guild in the server, they're gonna camp it, they're all gonna wake up early and they're gonna go there and they're gonna get all the drops. Which means that everyone else doesn't get a chance to even see the boss up. There might even be some ganking and stuff, but sometimes there's even some agreement between top guilds on a certain server or realm, and it's just scummy, whatever way you want to call it. So the idea is that you have world boss being summonable, and in order to summon them, you need to collect some rare drops that drop from what? From bosses at the end of dungeons or from bosses at the end of raids. They have a small percentage to drop. You accumulate a certain drops from the heroic's last boss, and then if you have enough, from the whole guild, you go to a special place and you can start the world boss in a way that zones you out, that you're just phasing. And of course, he gives you a red ID so that you cannot spam the world boss non-stop, non-stop, non-stop to funnel all the loot into the players that you want or into the raid, to the guild. So you need to do it only one time, or how many number of characters you have, times 25 or times 30, however many you want to make, or that you consider is the minimum for you to be able to kill the boss. Okay, so that's it, world boss summonable. Also in here I could add other world bosses, or make like a version of Lord Ahun, the Fire Lord, or other event bosses. They can come into here and become summonable, even out of season, but with a higher cost, and have their rewards updated a little bit, maybe. Wouldn't be so bad. So, next one. New dungeons. This one is a no-brainer. There needs to be 2 new dungeons in Nagran, Blazedge Mountains, or Shadow Moon Valley. So, just some ideas. In Nagran, you always have the Oshun place with the Ethereum, or behind the waterfall in the place where the Throne of Elements is, if I'm not mistaken, where the Earth guy, Water guy, Wind guy are. You can have behind the waterfall a dungeon there, a secret dungeon. In Blazedge Mountains, there needs to be some other ogre caves with a dungeon there. You could make for each one of those mini factions of villages or tribes of ogres, you can have a dungeon. One of it can even be like in the top of the village, and you jump down, up and down through the cliffs. Other can be inside a cave, as you wish. Also, another one in Blazes Mountains is that whole Legion part with a portal, one of those portals leading to a remote planet with some guys from the Legion that were preparing an invasion. In Shadow Moon Valley, there needs to be something like the Dragon Island Fortress with the Netherwing dragons. Would be really cool to have a dungeon there. And also maybe in Black Temple some sort of escape route in the sewers or the underground, just so that you get another side entrance that later actually opens the Black Temple. Because you go through that hole, and maybe that hole initially didn't lead immediately to the raid, so there was another road that you had to take in order to open that one. Something. You guys can think of something better for sure. And you can even have a new dungeon that is in the Caverns of Time that shows that when Outland is breaking apart, there's a race to launch the Echo Domes so that the wildlife is protected. And you go racing from place to place as the world is with the energies is bursting open and everything. You have that. A dungeon which is a timed race to preserve a little bit of the wildlife that once existed there. Because in the expansion that's further in the future, you see that zone a little bit, so why not? Okay, so next one. New quests. This is a no-brainer. Add new quests, new lore. Everybody will love it. And also add some daily mini-hubs. TBC at the end of the expansion has a lot of daily quests. At the start of the expansion, it's rough. And for people to make gold, they just make alts and they spam the quests again, which is a little bit blah. So if you had some new daily quests, new places for people to go, and there's a new lore there, something like that. It can be tied to the current lore, or even have ties to the lore that was added afterwards, that's some sort of a retcon. Some seeds for the demon hunters, seeds for the death knights, something. Okay, next one. More tiered upgrade profession recipes. You had the weapons that were very famous, but the other professions could also get some tiered items, like the engineering goggles that are tiered, but you can add more into more slots. Blacksmithing can have a belt, the armor smithing, and the leatherworking can, it only has those that are fixed. Maybe have one of them being upgradable, both for the druids have like a spike armor that's upgradable with greater spikes, or even something that would help the shaman with some special effects or mana or whatever. Zone-wide PvP objectives and rewards. Currently, if you try to PvP, you need to PvP around specific zones, both in Hellfire Peninsula and in Zangarmarsh or Terrokar, but I think that when you are PvPing and the zone is active, any kill that you do in Hellfire Peninsula should give you the little mark and should give you extra bonus honor and stuff. And also the rewards, which is the little marks, and also have a few more PvP rewards in order to keep the PvP players happy. Have something new, some rewards that are new and that are somewhat exciting, level appropriate, maybe something that you need to accumulate more marks for a higher level that might actually be useful for PvP players. Like some boots with speed that notoriously they stop working, but maybe now you can have some with a huge cooldown, so it's always a choice. It's a 10-minute cooldown for speed boots. Maybe it's only usable in the world, it's not usable in arena, so make it like 11-minute, something like that. Okay, next one. Rotating PvE, PvP, free-for-all zones. Typically, because we're gonna only get one permanent realm, if the idea is that. So you need to please PvE players and PvP players, and also a very niche part of players that experience an island where you could fight even people from your own faction. So the idea is to have most of the zones be PvE, of course, but then they rotate. Some of them become PvP once per week. One of them might get only once every 2-3 weeks, becoming a free-for-all zone. Something like that. Okay, continuing, now we have prestige runs or achievements for clears under a certain item level. This one should be pretty straightforward. If you clear Karazhan or Crow's Lair Magtheridon in all greens, or if you kill tier 5 in all blues, something like that. And it could even make it harder, because if you can clear tier 6 with all greens, just to show people, hey, we can do this. Or you can have even runs that are without buffs, like flasks or potions being used, stuff like that. Just a prestige run that would give you an achievement for the accomplishment. That's it. Next one, new race class combinations. And in here I put Kata with the question mark because Kata has the new class combinations, like the Blood Elf Warrior, the Mage for the Orcs, stuff like that, the Hunter for the Undead, even the Paladin for the Tauren. That would be something people would be all over. New race, now that's more tricky, because Goblin, people would accept. Worgen, would people accept Worgen in TBC? Not so much, right? A new class as such a Death Knight, more on the fence. But definitively the new class combinations from Kata for the races that already exist, that are already there in Shadowmoon Valley, the Blood Elf Warriors and all of that. Bring it. The Shamans for Dwarves, oh my god, please give me that. Please give me Shamans for Dwarves. Give Alliance another Shaman race. Okay, so continuing. Racial swap NPC. Okay, so this is, I know one private server, two private servers that have done this, and basically it's the racial swap so that any race can have any racial. Now you can make it as an allegiance to a certain deity, to a loon or something. You could get the racials from the blood elves, from the night elves, or you can just do a lot of work towards increasing your reputation with a certain faction beyond the typical 21,000 or whatever it takes to get exalted, and you would get like devoted something, a higher rank that takes a really long time, could take like 2 weeks worth of grind for you to reach it, but at some point people can have the racial swap that let people play what they want to play, and not I'm playing this because it gives me that racial that's OP in the arenas, and that's always, but that's a bit more controversial because some private servers have done it. It's a little bit on the hard tinkering of the classic roleplay and choices, and it could completely obliterate certain races from even appearing, or maybe not, because people that like gnome can have a taunt stomp. That would be something. Cross-faction group guild action house. Pretty straightforward. If it's one permanent realm, if there are already factions within the game, like the Argent Dawn, that take people from both sides, Alliance and Horde, let the players also make their own guilds that are Alliance and Horde mix. It's pretty straightforward, and for grouping, if it's just one realm, you're doubling the amount of players that you can group with. There are those also always that wouldn't want to do it, maybe, and they can even choose not to. But for the rest of us, even for queues, for searching for a group member, hey, we're doing this includes PvP as well. If we're doing a grind of Arathi Basin, we're doing a pre-made group, we're missing a healer. There's too many healers on the alliance, but they're not queuing because they have a higher queue or not. But come join our group. It's a pre-made. You heal, we go and do it. Easy. Minor class changes. Now this one, the prime example is the Paladin. The way that they get mana compared to warriors and druids tanking, it needs some tweaks over there, because the tier 6 2-piece or 4-piece, whatever it is a little bit of a walk in the right direction, but there needs to be much more to change there. Of course, without overdoing it, of course, because he's the paladin in TBC, especially on AoE tanking, so make it linked to block. You don't even have to make it linked to parry or dodge. Make it linked to block. Every time you block, you get a little bit of mana. So he would still excel at huge mobs as he currently does, but on bosses that hit fast, he would get enough mana back. It would still remain a specialist. But on the other magical bosses or physical hard-hitting bosses, it would be a bit harder, but he would get a tiny bit extra mana so that it doesn't completely suck compared to others. Like, for example, tanking. What's the name of the guy in tier 5? In the Void River. In tier 5. Okay, continue. Discourage solo gameplay. Okay, so this is the idea. You want to keep the world alive, but there should always be extra benefits and rewards for grouping. You keep the world alive, but if you group, you get 2% extra drops, 5% extra drops, or looting when you are together. People, it should feel good to group together. There should be tiny rewards. Those who want to play solo, but for the vast majority of us, please don't let the game turn into a asocial type of gameplay that most of it is nowadays. It's really sad to see an MMO like this when you have a streamer playing a video game and he's there all alone, he hardly ever groups, and he needs to put the grouping part. It's the highlight of the day. He needs to book it together with others during prime time. He's actually gonna do some grouping, because during the rest of the day he's playing this solo devastating experience. It's like, no, man, the game is not meant to be played like this. Yeah, I remember there was some dev back in the day. He said that the WoW content is made not to be hard as solo, but as soon as you group with a group of two, you steamroll through everything, and that's what they changed the game to be in retail. But it was already like that as long as you had a group. It just, there needs to be a proper, just a fine-tuning incentive to indicate people in the right direction. Hey, group up. And now, scalable difficulty in raids, normal, heroic, and other difficulties after. This can be approached in two ways. It can either be the scalable part in the amount of people that go in a raid. You can have a 40-man raid, 40 people doing Illidan, amazing. 40 people doing Lady Vash or Kaiathas, amazing. For me, of course, but others might not like it, so you go with the 20-man, but let those that want to go with 40-man to experience the epicness like it was in Classic to go with the 40-man. Also, there needs to be extra difficulties after just the normal and heroic. Raids currently do not have an heroic mode in TBC. You can add it, and you can add something after it, of course. Just as I mentioned earlier, you could have the prestige runs, and you can take all the gear that you require, the best in slot, but you still have one difficulty that makes it extra harder. So that what rewards you can get from that? I don't know, maybe just achievements, maybe it's the same items with a recolored tint that has +1 on all stats that it is giving. It would be that much of a difference, but it would make people chase it, that's for sure. Okay, so new raids. This is the TBC Plus, as in some of the other things that I mentioned. You can see it's the TBC Plus. There needs to be new raids for 10 and 25 man. Karazhan and Zulaman are 10 man, but there needs to be a 25 man version of it. And also brand new raids. If for Classic you did the creeps for Karazhan, TBC needs it. There needs to be an Oshun raid. There needs to be something else happening in Blades Edge Mountains. A raid in Terracar, like in some dark tunnel under that city, or even for the Terror guys. A raid or a dungeon in the Thorn monsters, how you call it, with the vibes and everything. There needs to be that. Also, a proper bigger raid for Hellfire Peninsula, because that's supposed to be a huge fortress, and you only go for a little bit of it. A raid where you help the guys from the Grand, each of the both factions, each one of those, and a raid involving the gnomes in Netherstorm and the Ethereum. You can do it. And all the Burning Legion stuff that's happening there. It can be done. It's easy to get ideas for it. It just takes the will to make the implementation and make it work. Okay, many other tweaks. You could put here the dual spec. You can put here the battleground time limit, but this has already been done in the past. I think Classic has some parts of it, or the previous TBC also had some parts of it. So just take a second look, second rinse and repeat, second pass looking at this and see if there's something else that can be done. There are certainly certain things that the community would look and say, that this is nice, and let's just do it. Okay, thank you. That is all. Have a nice day.